friends, today's video is about how children escaped from COVID-19. Now let's have a look at the current number of COVID cases worldwide. It is 100 million as of today. Oh, that's a lot. Anyway, COVID-19 related fatalities are found to be more in adults than in children. Okay, now let's take for instance the Sars 2003 outbreak. Children were largely unaffected in SARS outbreak 2. In Hong Kong, nobody under the age of 24 died, while more than 50% of patients over the age of 65 infected with SARS died. Globally, less than 10% of those diagnosed with SARS were children and only 5% of them required intensive care. Okay, so I'm talking about SARS because SARS 2003 outbreak was caused by SARS-CoV and COVID-19 pandemic is caused by SARS-CoV-2. You can see the similarity here. Yes, this is why I mentioned about the SARS. Okay, now let's look at the fact that children seem to escape from COVID-19 too. How is it that they are naturally immune to SARS? Let's see. Within Wuhan, no children tested positive between the month of November and the second week of January, and the elderly people were the ones that were particularly vulnerable. So this is Wuhan in Hubei province, China. By now everybody would be knowing about China, right? Alright, now let's see. Chinese CDC, or the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, reported that in the middle of February, amongst 44,672 COVID cases, it was 86.6% of adults over the age of 30 that were affected, whereas 13.4% of people under the age of 30 was infected. This clearly says that age could be a risk factor, and especially if you're under 30, you have less incidence of COVID-19. And among 1,099 patients in China, it was observed that only 0.9% of confirmed cases were under the age of 9, whereas 1.2% of cases were between the ages of 10 and 19. So why is that? What is so special in children that they are not as much affected or suffer from as much mortality as that of adults? Well, is it because they have better immune system? Well, yes, it could be that the type of T cell, which is an immune cell that dominates in early life, is better at repelling the virus. This was found out by Kingston Mills, a scientist in Trinity College, Dublin. So, T cells are a type of immune cells that are found in children as well as in adults. So when T cells are first formed in children, they contain a lot of cells called the naive cells. Naive cells are the cells that are really just formed T cells. These cells are found larger in number in children and are therefore able to better repel the coronavirus than in adults, because in adults the number of naive cells is lesser compared to that of children. So this is giving children a better advantage. So the main role of the T cell is to do two things. The first thing is that it can activate B cells, which are another type of immune cells in our body that produce antibodies in response to COVID-19 infection or any infection in general. The other function of the T cell is a cytotoxic role. It can kill virus-infected cells. Another reason that children could be escaping from COVID-19 is the ACE2 receptor or Ace2 receptor. Okay, so before I tell you what Ace2 receptor is, I'll let you know that children have these receptors, many in number. These receptors are found in the lung, it's found in the mucosa, it's found everywhere else. Adults have these receptors in fairly lower numbers. So Ace2 receptor is the receptor found on the surface of a cell to which COVID-19 spike protein binds. Once the binding takes place, the virus enters and then all these happen in the cell, and that's how the infection progresses. But what does it have to do with children and adults? I just told you children have many ACE2 receptors. So does it make them more susceptible to COVID-19 or less susceptible? Well, first of all, ACE2 receptor is for binding the enzyme called ACE2. ACE2 is nothing but angiotensin convertase enzyme 2. So this ACE2 enzyme plays a very important role in controlling or safeguarding our cells from inflammation. So when young people get infected by COVID-19, their lungs and other parts of the body that contain ACE2 receptor might get affected a lot and inflammation might happen. But since ACE2 receptors are larger in number, it also means that ACE2 enzyme is produced a lot. Since ACE2 enzyme is produced a lot and there are a lot of receptors, the inflammation that occurs in children can be controlled. This could probably be the reason why children do not suffer from as much fatalities, but adults have fairly less number of ACE2 receptors. And to those ACE2 receptors, COVID-19 is binding, and already they have a lesser number of ACE2 enzyme molecules, which is not able to provide as much protection as it provides in children due to being lesser in number. So this is one more reason. Let's look at another reason, comorbidities. Well, comorbidities are nothing but diseases other than COVID-19 that contribute to deaths or severities due to COVID-19 infection. For example, diabetes, hypertension, and other such conditions in the lungs. So usually it is the adults or old people that have these conditions, pre-existing conditions already, compared to children. I mean, I'm not saying that children do not have these conditions at all, but compared to adults, you can say lesser number of children, only few 7-year-olds or newborns have conditions like hypertension, which clearly means that maybe it's not just the COVID-19 that kills the patient. It is because of the comorbidities that they have, which is what is resulting in the death of the patient or severe COVID-19 cases. And since children have less of these comorbidities, they are able to fare better compared to adults. Now, this was found by a scientist named Frank Esper, who works in who's a pediatric infectious disease specialist at Cleveland Children's Clinic. Next could be exposure. Well, this one particularly refers to children who are always being exposed constantly to different types of germs. Children do not know how to be careful when they're outside. They touch a lot of things, they hang out with a lot of people, they don't wash their hands, they chew their toys, they put their hand in the mouth without even washing their hands. They do not know how to always wear mask the correct way or use a hand sanitizer. So they're constantly being exposed to all sorts of germs, not just during the COVID-19 pandemic, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the nature of children to be carefree and have fun all the time and also go everywhere. So this has led to the exposure of 4 other mild coronaviruses amongst children that circulate every year and cause common cold. Maybe this one could have given children some kind of strengthened immunity. Okay, now you can ask me, even adults could have been exposed to these mild coronaviruses previously. And yes, even though not many adults have been exposed, according to that study, we can say for sure that those adults that were already exposed to milder coronaviruses previously in their life or during their childhood had significantly lesser severe cases of COVID-19. But that doesn't mean COVID-19 was not harmful to them at all. It did cause them damage, but in some cases it acted as an alleviatory factor. Like, you know, when they have already been infected with the coronavirus, they were able to fare a little bit better compared to the adults who are not exposed to mild coronaviruses at all. So that could be one factor for children. Or since children are exposed to a lot of coronaviruses and a lot of germs, could it be because they are quite likely an important source of the virus? What I'm meaning to say is that since children are able to carry a lot of coronaviruses in their body and transmit, this is somehow favoring the spread of coronavirus. This was found by Dr. Robin Shattuck from Imperial College London. So yes, perhaps they are. There's a good evidence that kids get infected and have a fairly high titer of the virus. So high titer refers to higher concentration of virus in the blood. For example, imagine that you require 1,000 COVID-19 particles to start showing any symptoms. Children might harbor 5,000 COVID-19 particles and still don't show any symptom at all. So maybe they play an important role in acting as a source of the coronavirus because they go everywhere and you cannot control children and they do not follow any of the rules of social distancing or wearing a mask or using a hand sanitizer. And a recent evidence even found that viral excretion was found in the rectal swabs of children. Yes, they are excreting it as well, but this is just an indication that they might not have any symptoms, not even a cold, but still you can find it in their rectal swabs, which says that even though they have a high concentration of coronavirus in their body, they do not even show the disease. Although it is true that some children had really serious effects of COVID-19, they were still able to survive because of their young age, and in general, we talked about all these other mechanisms by which they are able to better safeguard themselves from COVID-19. So these helped them really, even though it was severe, the fatalities were not as high as it was in adults and in old age people. So here is one important question that arises, which is, what about the new COVID-19 strains? Well, SARS-CoV-19 B117 is the new strain. It is infectious among children and teenagers as well. This was stated by London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Yeah, this strain is popularly known as the UK strain. It is also found in South Africa, Nigeria, etc. Not the exact same, but strains similar to the B117, although more research needs to be done. I mean, in fact, each state in India could have its own unique strains too. But then the new strain's effect on teenagers and children showed that they are not immune from this. Well, this virus mutated and now it's trying to find out a way for infecting more children as well. But again, so far, the new strain does not appear to lead to a more serious illness for the individuals it affects, including young people and children. So we can still stand by the statement. Which is, children fare well compared to adults when infected with COVID-19. For more such videos, subscribe to Science Galata channel. Thank you.